Yeah, because as I shared with some of you yesterday, what I'm doing this morning is a precursor to sort of getting in the weeds as far as business planning, obviously for the remainder of 2020, but also into 2021. Um, when you think about 2020, it's October 20th, 10/10, no, 10/20/20. And you think about a 45-day settlement, we're pretty much near the end of the year in regards to what we're going to have on the books that's going to actually close during 2020. So it means that we really need to start today, begin to say, okay, what's in my pipeline for 2021? And we're going to spend this session, another session, maybe a third session, just going through and giving you time to really kind of sort through what it is that you want to accomplish in 2021. And some of the things are sort of big rocks, big goals. Other things are small things, but they should be starting to be hung up now so that you can be looking at them and focusing on them moving forward. And that's what I want to do this morning is kind of walk you through that. Sort of the big picture sort of scenario, and then next Tuesday we'll kind of get into more of the, maybe right near the end of today we'll get more into the just the really nuts and bolts of putting the business plan together. I listened to a podcast the other day. I can't, quite honestly, I can't even remember where I heard this, but I really liked it, and it went right along with the things that I've been sharing with you guys now for a good long while. But it's these 3 F's. And if we start thinking about the big picture, as Yona talked about yesterday, with this type of thing, the first thing is why. Why am I in this business? Why is it that I do what I do? Why am I prospecting in this way versus a different way? The why can be, go in a lot of different ways. There's not just one why. There are lots of whys, but ultimately there should be one big why, in regards to, why I live my life the way I live it. But when you start thinking about answering this question, what is your why? Think about it from this standpoint of the fact that, the 3 F's: focus, feelings, and function. All right. And for those of you that have, heard me teach probably more times than you care to admit, I'm a big, proponent of focus. And I think about the word focused as, it's almost, I'm focused. It's like I'm on this right this minute, and then I'll be on this next. But I'm on this for a week, doing this now. So a week from now I'll be here, or 2 months from now I'll be here, that kind of thing. And it can be business and it can be personal. There should be focuses in both. And as again, Yona shared yesterday, the first thing is about, when you're focusing in, is about you personally and your family. That should be your absolute number one priority. For me, it's God, my family, and then friends, and then work. And I guess in friends, it would be friends slash the things that I'm doing with lots of different people. But the point being is, that doesn't mean that work doesn't get its due. Using the Buffini concept of the 5 rings. If you're so focused on your family and feeling really good about that's your priority, or you're so focused on your personal training and you're feeling really good about that, if that circle gets bigger, the other 4 circles get smaller. It's just the way it is. It's the ebb and flow. If I spend way too much time here, then other things are going to be impacted. If I spend way too much time over here, then other things are going to be impacted. So it's really about a balance. And it's about having a focus on the 5, and, or whatever your is. And 5 for Buffini is, family, finances, spiritual, Oh gosh. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say here, and you know maybe you could put in the chat the five rings. But the point being is, any one of those I can really get focused in on, you know, one of them, and leave somebody else or leave something else really behind. Yeah, personal, family, business, financial, spiritual. Thank you. You can leave other things behind. You can be so focused in on your own personal stuff that you aren't spending any time in the business, and that's why we talk so much about time management. That's why we talk about time blocking, because those things have to get into the calendar first. You know, the personal, the priorities have to get in the calendar first, but that doesn't mean I don't have a lot more hours to put in a full-time effort into my real estate business. And one of the things that I know a number of you that are on this call this morning already are struggling with is that very thing. Is you're doing a lot of stuff, but it may not be a full force effort in making you successful in the real estate business. And so when you put all the non-negotiables in, you'll see you still have plenty of time to do what you need to do to be successful in real estate. So this whole aspect of your focus then impacts your feelings. All right. Your focus, what are you focused on? And you know, I talked a few months ago about this whole aspect of getting too caught up in distractions and distortions and, you know, disturbances, right? That there's so much going on, there's so much noise going on in the world that it's really, really easy to lose your focus. And when you go down that rabbit trail and you get into those places, there's a tendency to get discouraged. There's a tendency to get distracted. There's this tendency to get disturbed, and that impacts your feelings. If you're distracted and you're disturbed, you know, then your feelings are not gonna be at their best. You're gonna find yourself having pity parties and stick your thumb in your mouth and saying, "Why am I even doing this? It's not worth it." Those kind of things, and then obviously with those feelings can then impact your function. If I'm in a place where I just say, "Why am I doing this?" and blah, 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 then I'm not going to go out and do the things I need to do to be successful. So that's again why Brian Buffini talks so much about, you know, stay as much as you can away from the news. A guy that I follow, Chip Ingram, says the same thing in a different way, but he says the same thing. Don't let yourself get distracted by things you can't control. It is so easy to put yourself in that situation and get yourself in a scenario where you've spent half a day on things that you can't control. Whereas if you'd spent that half a day doing something different, you know, positive things might have happened from it. I can give you lots and lots of examples of this. But from my standpoint, going back even 3 years ago to August, 12th, 2017, and what happened in our city, there was a lot of stuff, and there continues to be a lot of stuff, and we need to continue to move that forward and make our city a better place. But from that day, after I did some soul searching, I just decided that all I could do is change our city one relationship at a time. So I just have begun to build relationships with lots of different people and have conversations with lots of different people, and not to get them to see things my way. But again, as I've talked about in the past, this whole aspect of we're on a journey together, right? And when you're going on a journey, Russell wishes he was back at the beach from a month or so ago. He went, beach trip, whatever. He's got kids. He's got all the kids' stuff. He's got his fishing stuff, and so he's got to have a big vehicle for that. And think about it from a standpoint, we're all on a journey together. We need an SUV, and the SUV means we need to study, we need to understand, and we need to make ourselves vulnerable. We need to make ourselves open-minded to hear what other people are saying. Study where other people are coming from, try to understand where they're coming from, and then make ourselves vulnerable to say, maybe I don't have it all right. And I think the same thing can be said about your business. We talk all the time about knowing your numbers. In the GRI class I taught this past week, this whole aspect, and we'll talk more about this next time we're together. You need to know your numbers. You need to not only know your numbers, but you need to know the real estate numbers, the statistics. Where is business happening? Where isn't business happening? And put yourself in a position and have a plan in place that you can be in the midst of where the business is happening. Now, that doesn't mean you don't want to focus a few years out to be in a different place at a different price range and things like that. But initially, when we're talking about, producing positive cash flow as quickly as we can, we need to be in the market where things are selling, where we can help other people buy and sell real estate. So again, where your focus can determine where your feelings are, and whether your feelings are up or they're down, positive or discouraged, can really impact how you function. If you don't feel like you're in great shape, you can put yourself in a position where I'm not going to go out today. I'm just out of shape, and I'm just going to get tired, and it's going to make me feel bad and whatever. Hey, one step at a time, failing forward. If I can, again, going back a year and a half ago, the fact that I walked 10 minutes was just unbelievable. And it was such a journey. Now, walking 10 minutes now doesn't mean anything to me as much, but man, it meant a whole lot to me a year and a half ago. And if I hadn't taken those first steps forward, I wouldn't be where I am physically today. The next thing is, again, and this won't come as any surprise, your success takes a can versus I can attitude. You've got to go about finding yourself in this business as to where you can say, I can be successful versus I can't. This is not me. I can't do it this way, that kind of thing. There are a lot of things in the business that maybe you can't do. Maybe it's not your comfort level, but there's so many things that you can. So just focus on the can, right? And don't let other people tell you you can't. That's the other thing. You've got to believe in yourself so that you can focus, have a positive feeling, and then go out there and function as if, what? I got to go find those buyers and sellers because they're missing out if they don't work with me. I'm so proud of the fact that, I read again, I got 2 more this morning. I went to the office, picked up paperwork. I got 2 more testimonials this morning, excellent ratings. You're so lucky to have that person in your company. They were phenomenal, blah, blah, blah. I'm so proud of the fact that folks are going out there and they're doing it their way and they're doing it excellently. And so the point being is I want you to really focus in on I can, and something that you want to try, somebody else may have tried and it didn't work. And for them, it didn't work, and that's okay. But don't let them tell you that it won't work for you. Don't let them tell you that, I tried to, follow up with people and I tried to do this and I tried to do that and nothing ever came of it. Well, for them, maybe it didn't, but for you, it could. So, lean in and do the things that you think are going to make you successful and are going to allow you to be energized and give you the upbeat feeling so that you can function in a way that grows your business. And again, from Brian Buffini, the law of the harvest. We just got to give, and give. And at some point we need to ask. And then, what I mean by that is you just give, you serve, you write notes, you drop things by to people, and you may never hear anything from them. But at one point and one time when you do reach out to them, you say, hey, this is a phenomenal market. Interest rates are, at an all-time low. There got to be some people that are renting that would love to know that they can buy something. Is there somebody that you can have me get in touch with, or can you put me in touch with them? That's the ask, right? And if you've been giving and giving and giving, and if you've been serving and serving and serving, they're going to want to help you. They're going to try to think about somebody. When they do, then you watch how things grow because you get that opportunity and you serve those people well, and something successful comes from it. And then they're so excited about what you did for them that they're referring other people to do. And then you start again, giving, just like you gave to that person who gave you the referral. You then are giving to the people that you've been in touch with. So again, going back to focus, feelings, and function, you got to decide to rise up. You got to decide that, doggone it, I'm going to be the best that I can be in 2021. I want to take my business to the next level. And I know that it's not going to happen if I sit and wait for it to drop in my lap. Now, some things may sit and drop in your lap. That's great. That's what I call the gravy of the business, but it's not the meat and potatoes, right? So we got to make the decision to rise up. And as you've heard me talk about before, that decision is about being resolved in where you want your business to go. It's being intentional in how you go about making it happen. striving, reaching out to grasp the next one on the ladder. So it's not easy. It's an effort. And that's why the word striving is in there. That striving is a great word that says I'm urging myself forward. I'm putting myself in a place of discomfort. I'm doing things that I haven't done before. I'm listening to what Yona says in the mentor coach class, and I'm putting some of those things in place. I'm going to trust other people that know what they're doing, and I'm going to say, if they're telling me it can work, then I'm going to believe them that it can work. And it's that striving. I love that word for that reason. It just has that feeling of, man, I'm going for it, right? And then what am I striving for? I'm striving for extraordinary new business opportunities, having relationships, business opportunities, and creating new relationships. And then again, having an undeniable, you won't be stopped passion or purpose. So rise up, resolved, intentional, striving for extraordinary business opportunities and relationships with an undeniable, I can't be stopped. I can because I believe, purpose. The second thing is, as we go through this, is finding our focus. Finding our focus. What is our target? What is our why? That's where we start to find our focus, is not only what is our big why, but why am I prospecting in this way? Why am I spending time doing this in this business versus spending time doing this over here? And we'll get more into that probably next week. But finding our focus. And again, it's focusing on creating, right? Developing a plan. All right, this is where I want to be next year. And when we go through the numbers, you realistically say, I'd like to be here at the end of 2021. So, okay, this is where I want to be. How do I get there? Well, I got to create. I've got to develop a plan. And I got to not only develop a plan, but I want the plan to be unbelievable. I want you to create an unbelievable plan, and have you believe it in that big, that I can do this much business next year. And we've got several agents who, over the last 3 years, have dreamed big, and they're hitting the numbers now, and they're so excited, right? Going back to focus, feelings, function. Their function is so different now because, man, I've hit where I wanted to get to, and I want to get to the next place. And 2 years ago, I didn't think I could get here, but I said I would, and here I am. And now I'm going to go to that next place. So you got to believe that big. And then, so you're focusing on creating unbelievable success. What does it look like for you? Dream it. We'll talk about the 6 Ds here, which some of you have heard me talk about before, but what does it look like? Take some time over this next, couple weeks to just sit wherever your favorite place is, or like Yona, she goes on her 6 mile walk on Saturdays, and she pretty much walks, in the mornings. And maybe that's the time. For me, it's my front porch, right? Where I can just sit and just let my mind kind of get a little bit empty, and I can begin to think, what is it that I want for me going in 2021? What do I want for my family? What do I want for our company? What do I want for each and every one of you? And I spend time thinking about that and how I can serve you guys and help you get to the next rung of the ladder. And then the E is every. And then I say, well, at least 5.5 days a week, right? Again, if I'm being a person of integrity and telling you that you got to focus on you, then there's got to be time that you take for you. And I think a day and a half every week is a good thing to do. A full day, as much as you can, where you can, do some things that you enjoy doing, and then you block it out and say, this is my day. Again, using Yona's example, Saturday mornings from 8 to 12, she closes everything down and doesn't look at anything. And she uses that morning for her sort of regenerating into the rest of the afternoon and into Sunday and into the next week. And then the D stands for day. And we'll talk more about this. Some of you talked about it yesterday, but this whole aspect of time block prospecting opportunities that are set in stone. So you're not only setting your personal things into the calendar, but you should have places where you're prospecting at different times of the week. And for each of you, it's probably different times, but there should be an hour and a half every day where you're saying to yourself, I need to generate some leads. This is the hour I'm going to do it. How am I going to do it today? Sometimes it might be walking, knocking on doors and telling people you're going to have an open house on Sunday and you just want to introduce yourself. And if they know of anybody who's thinking about moving into the neighborhood, you'd love an opportunity to work with them. It might be calling people on your sphere of influence and just, checking in. As we talk about, your sphere of influence should hear from you at least 4 times a year. That should be in your business plan, where you're hearing from the key people in your sphere of influence. They should be hearing from you personally at least 4 times a year. I'm not talking about mailings. I'm not talking about emails. I'm talking about you personally being in touch with them. And so 4 times a year, so quarterly, and one of them should be face-to-face. I know that's a little bit hard right now with COVID, but one of them should be face-to-face so that you're keeping them, you're front of mind in their mind. And that time blocking does that. Okay, it's Tuesday at 2:00, and you looked at your calendar in the morning and you go, okay, from 2 to 3, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to use that whole hour, and maybe it's a nice day, so you go and knock on doors, or you do a pop by, or whatever the case may be, or you're picking up the phone and calling people. The third thing is making yourself make yourself swell up with pride. Make yourself swell up with pride. You should again, focus, feelings, function. Your feelings should be, I am really proud of myself. I'm doing things I've never done before. Again, whether it's personally or professionally, I'm doing things I've never done before because 3 months ago, I started doing this. I was committed to this, and look at where I am now. For me, again, my thing is that I lost 30 pounds in the hospital a year and a half ago. It was 30 pounds I needed to lose. I just didn't know I was going to lose it that way, right? I didn't know I was going to go on the Guillain-Barré syndrome diet plan and lose, 23, 25 pounds in 13 days just because I couldn't move. But my commitment on April 26th, when I came out of rehab at 192, 23 pounds lighter, was I'm not going to put that weight back on. In fact, I'm going to get to 185. And that's what I've been focused on. And I kind of get close, and I'm in the mid 180s. I'm not at 185, but I'm in the mid 180s. And I'm really proud of myself for that, because it's been whatever that is, a year and a half, where I've not put that weight on, because I've said to myself, and here's where my, again, focus, feelings, function is where that worked for me. I would feel terrible if I put that weight back on, because I lost it in such a horrific way that I'd be so mad at myself if I let myself do that. So that's been a motivation for me. And I swell up with pride about it. I feel good about it. My wife laughs at me. So, I think I've said this to a few of you, that my wife, she says, you're like a woman. You're getting on that scale all the time, seeing how you are. And I said, hey, it's a measurable goal. Goals need to be measurable, and that goal is measurable. I stand on that, and it said 190 or 192 or whatever. I wasn't at 185. When it said 188 this morning, I'm not at 185, right? But I'm a whole lot closer to it than I was before. So make yourself swell up with pride in regards to what it is, and feel good about the fact that you're doing it. And it's just one day at a time, one note at a time, one call at a time, one step at a time, right? And pride stands for being personally responsible for your individual daily effort. And daily, again, 5.5 days a week. Personally responsible for individual daily effort, which means failing forward. Finding ways today to make your business better tomorrow. That's all you can do. All you can do is today. You got a lot of stuff going on, and you could worry about tomorrow or the next week or whatever, but you can't, there's nothing you can do about next week or tomorrow. You got to, without doing today. I'm reading a book right now that's called Present Perfect. And it's such a great book, because it's talking about my life needs to be in the now. Not in what happened before, not in what I'm worrying about in the future, but what am I doing with now? Right this minute, what am I doing? I'm teaching you guys, hopefully, to put you in a position to be more successful in 2021, which I love doing, right? And I'm focused in on that right now, this morning, focused in on being ready to talk to you guys right now. The more we can stay in the now, the more our business will look better tomorrow, because we're doing things that make our business better tomorrow. And what I mean by that is just that whole aspect of having a plan and having it somewhere in writing that you can look at and say, okay, this is what my day looks like today. And I can't compromise. This is something that if it doesn't happen, it's okay. But these are the things that I can't compromise on because I got to be better tomorrow. Example of that for me from a business standpoint is when I was selling, I had a goal above my telephone that just said, have you made an appointment today? That was a measurable goal. I wanted a new appointment every day. Now, that appointment could be 6 months from now. That appointment could be this weekend. That appointment could be that I'm supposed to call somebody in a couple of weeks to see if I can get an appointment. But it was something new because of the effort that I had made today, right? And it was a simple goal, but man, it was life-changing for my business. Because with every appointment, and some days I got more than that, but with every appointment, that was one more thing I had in the pipeline. One more thing that I had an opportunity to turn it into something. Okay. So again, failing forward, finding ways to make your business better tomorrow. Fourth, some how-tos. Okay. And we're going to talk more about this as we get into, talking about numbers and things like that, but some how-tos. Setting reasonable goals, ones that are a stretch, but they're attainable. Matt, is working out. He's gotten himself back into working out. He's running. I'm pretty sure he's got, a goal for at least a half marathon this fall. That doesn't happen tomorrow. He can't say, I'm going to run a half marathon tomorrow, right? He's got to go a little bit farther a couple times a week so he can go a little bit farther the next week, and so he can go a little bit farther the following week. That's stretching, but you're putting yourself in a position where you're setting reasonable goals. I'm going to go 3 miles today. For some of us, I'm going to go around the block today. Barb Kelly's a good example of that. She and Dick have been walking, and she's talked about how she's been able to get farther and farther. Dick's still leading the way, but that was a commitment they made a few months ago, and now they're in a completely different place than they were when they started. They wouldn't be where they are today if they hadn't started back there a few months ago. So setting reasonable goals. If you hear people say write 3 or 5 notes a day, that may be unreasonable to you. One a day. If you do, just 1 note a day, you're in a situation where, so Matt just said he's doing the entire 26.2 miles next month. I hope it's later next month versus just in 10 days or so. But again, so he's got to kind of
next 22nd.
20 seconds. So you have 32 days.
Yeah, I got a month left.
Yeah. And what is in your core right now? If you had to go out and run today, how far could you go?
I can do 10 miles with no planning, like on peer training at this point. Yeah, so I can handle 10 pretty automatically. 16, I did 16 a couple of weeks ago. That was a push. That was a beast. And I think next weekend, so not this weekend, but the following week, I'm going to do 20. And then depending on how that goes, that may or may not be my longest run before the whole thing.
So the point of that, though, for us from a business standpoint, is that if he can do 20 a week from Saturday, that means if push comes to shove, he could do 26 because it would hurt. It's not the way to do it. He would feel a lot of pain during and after. But if push came to shove, he could. So as an example, if I can get to, 1 note a day now, well, come 3 weeks from now, when it gets to be around Thanksgiving, I can write more notes because I'm in the rhythm now. I can read more notes to my sphere of influence for Thanksgiving or whatever. Or, I can, if I'm used to, doing certain things, I can do more when it push comes to shove if I've got a base. if I've already got a base established, and that's that individual daily effort that establishes that base. So reasonable goals, and then creating a rhythm so that your routine becomes, hang on one second. So your routine becomes how you live. And the point of this is that real estate is not a job. It's a lifestyle. Everything we do can be about real estate. When I, was active in the business, I coached, and even though I was coaching my kids and doing that, everybody knew that yes, I was the coach. Yes, I was JM's dad or Becca's dad or whatever. But they also knew I was a real estate agent. And so if I could do a good job of coaching and pouring into those kids and doing it in the right way, when those people got ready to buy and sell, it was much easier for them to say, hey, Michael, can you help us? We've watched what you've done with our kids, and we've been so appreciative. We'd love to have your help as it relates to real estate. Vice versa, if I'd done a terrible job with them, there's a good chance they wouldn't have called me or asked or reached out to me because of the fact that, boy, I don't like the example he's setting. So it's really a lifestyle, and I love that about it. I love that everything I do as the real estate broker of Roy Wheeler, is my involvement in the community, my involvement with mentoring people, serving on boards, those kind of things. That all comes back as a reflection to Roy Wheeler Realty Company. And I love that. I love that it's a double-edged and sometimes multi-edged scenario. So the point being is that everything you do can ripple out or into your business. And so it's really important to create a rhythm. I didn't really understand. I mean, I've always been somebody with pretty good focus and pretty good, to-do lists. And hang on a second, my leg just cramped up on me. Sorry. Sitting on a stool and my calf just didn't like that. So the point being is that I've always been pretty good at that. But since COVID hit and my scenario changed because of my, needing to be self-isolated and do those kind of things, I've really gotten into a rhythm like never before in my life. And it's been huge. And I think I've been more productive. I think I've been more productive than I even was coming into the office every day. And it's not that, as you guys know, it's not that I'm not staying in touch with each of you and trying to encourage you and helping you through deals and things like that. But it's about this routine. And literally, you could pretty much look at your watch at any time of the day from 5:15 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, and you would know where Michael Guthrie is or what Michael Guthrie's doing. Because my schedule is such a routine. Now, some of the things obviously in those times are changed, but it's pretty much the same every day in the way that everything is blocked in. And I feel like I've become much more productive. Be someone who's never met a stranger. Develop a mindset where you see your comings and goings as opportunities for your business. As you engage with others, or meeting them for the first time, ask them the question, how can I help serve you? How can I help /serve you? It's like that show New Amsterdam that about the New York hospital, and the guy that's in charge of it, every time one of his people come up to him, they say, hey, can you help? Hey, what's going on? I need to talk to you. How can I help? This is his response every time. How can I? It doesn't matter whether it's the janitor or the head of the cardiology department. How can I help? That needs to be our focus. That needs to be our attitude. How can I help? How can I serve you? You want to be in a position where you're creating, everybody you meet, you create raving fans of. They go away from that meeting thinking, boy, that guy, that gal, that is a really nice person. And gosh, they went out of their way to do this. And then I got a personal note from them. And, and then they reached out a couple months later, and all of a sudden they believe what you said to them, that you really want to be able to help them and to serve them. And it goes back again to this whole aspect of, our mindset of building rapport, gaining credibility, and then having a system in place to show people we care, right? If we never met a stranger, then everybody we meet, we want to build rapport with them. We want to find common ground, right? John Updike is great at this. I swear John Updike can can find a common link as well as anybody I know, and especially as I don't know how he does it, but he always boils it down to they know somebody from Danville, or they know somebody that went to Woodbury Forest. Somehow or another, he finds common ground so that he has a place to start with in that conversation. And then again, he gains credibility by the fact that, he grew up in Danville and knows everybody there, or went to Woodbury Forest, or, whatever. And then he brings in the real estate part of it. And then, and finally he has a system for showing people he cares. That's what we need to do. And that when we have that, then we can be in a position where when we say, how can I help? How can I serve you? It's meaningful. And then we back it up. A best example I give you on this, I had a friend who was going to see his dad, and he was actually going out to like Idaho to go to the, this was years ago, but was going out to watch the Super Bowl with his dad. And he and his dad didn't have a great relationship. And so he just decided, I'm going to fly out, honey, I'm going to fly out, spend the weekend with my dad and watch the Super Bowl, and I'll come back on Monday. And so he told me about it, and he told me he was uncomfortable about it because he didn't have a great relationship with his dad. He asked me to, please think about him, and I told him I would. And that day, for whatever reason that he was flying out, I sent him a text and I said, Mark, hope your travels out to Idaho went well. Well, they hadn't gone well. He got stuck in Chicago. Planes were canceled. I think it was weather related, whatever. And he almost turned around. But because I texted him and said, hey, how's it going? I can't wait to hear about what this trip means to your and your relationship's dad. It caused him to move forward. It encouraged him to say, no, wait, I made this commitment. I'm going to do this. And so he got there. It turned out he didn't get there till Sunday morning, but he was there Sunday, spent the day, watched the Super Bowl with his dad, and came home on Monday. And it turned out it was a nice time. But just because somebody said, I remembered that you told me you were doing this, did it encourage him to move forward? And I think we can all do those kinds of things if we have a system in place to remind ourselves about those things. Everybody can say, how are you? I'm fine, that kind of thing. But very few people can say, how are you? How can I help? How can I serve? What's going on in your life? Really, what's going on in your life? And one of the things about having a system in place is having what needs to be done written down. Some of you can do it in your phones. That's great. And I do it kind of as a hybrid. I've got a bunch of things that pop up on my phone every day that remind me about things. But I also have, something as crazy as this. 3 months at a glance that usually is on my wall in the office, and it's not right now. So it sits right here next to me. So I can look at it and know kind of the big things that I've got coming toward me. So having everything written down, and everything you decide to implement should involve scheduled times where you connect with those or intentionally try to meet. And what I mean by that is having them written down. That's that time blocking again. Where, okay, I got to do this. When am I doing it? Not I got to do it, but where in my calendar am I going to do it this week? And going back to something I said to Russell yesterday, somebody asks you to do something and you say, thank you for asking, let me check my calendar. Well, the reason you're checking your calendar is that hopefully you got stuff written down in there, and you don't want to not do something you should be doing because you said yes to somebody else. Nothing wrong with saying yes. You just want to say yes in your terms or at your time. Okay. So, have everything you decided to implement should be involved scheduled times where you connect with those or intentionally try to meet. Do them by the clock. Literally put 15 to 20-minute appointments in your phone that remind you. I have to reach out to someone, some way to someone. So you might just put in your phone at 2:00. It's lead generation hour. So it just pops up, lead generation hour, so that oh my gosh, I got to get going to see things. Or if you have a conversation with somebody, it's at an open house or whatever, and you figure out a time that you're going to follow up with something, be intentional about when would you like me to follow up with you? And they say, well, Wednesday be great. Super. What's the best time to contact you on Wednesdays? And let's just say it's 6:00. Great. What's the best number for me to call you? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. at 6 p.m., the phone rings for that other person. So not only did you not hit the number, hit the date, but you hit the number and you hit the number on the head. And so for some of you, it might be putting that reminder in, call Logan at 6 p.m. tonight. So when that pops up at 5:45, 15-minute notice, you're ready at 6 o'clock, boom, you're on the phone with them. Emergencies are going to arise, but that's why things need to be written down. You can be in a situation where, hang on a second. I got things written down in my notebook. So I got my phone, I got my big calendar, but I got this, as things come up, I'm writing these notes down, and I get distracted. I know that's hard to believe because somebody's texting me and saying I got a deal falling apart, or I can't get a hold of somebody, or blah, blah, blah. And so I'm going to deal with that. I'm going to help that person. But then I go right back to my notebook and see, okay, what's checked off and what's not. And it just reminds me, I don't know about you guys, but I can be having a conversation with Dottie, and one of us gets texted or whatever, and we look at it, and then we look at each other and go, what were we just talking about? Right? It's just the way it is, right? So to have it written down, and the feeling of checking it off or crossing it off or putting a circle behind it, around it, because you haven't gotten to it yet, however you do it, they need to be written down. Find time each day to be one who rests, literally, but with this thought process. Okay, again, RESTS. Reflect. What did I do well or not so well? Or how will I improve on it tomorrow? Examine. Take time regularly to listen and read how others, hang on a second, other folks are building their business. Strategize for tomorrow and beyond. So I'm reflecting, I'm examining, and now I'm starting to put my plan together for tomorrow and beyond. Take time out to do what you enjoy and be with those who you love. And then finally, and very importantly, sleep. You've got to get your sleep. And that's another thing that I've learned in this time period of my routine. Man, I'm up at 5:15, and so I got to be in bed at 9 or 9:15. I used to go on 5 or 6 hours of sleep. I don't know if it's because of Guillain-Barré. I don't know if it's because I'm 67, but 8 hours is better for me, and I function better with 8 hours. You may function for less. I follow one guy who does this thing on sleep cycles. I can't figure that thing out for the life of me, but he either has to sleep for 2.5 hours or 5 hours or 7.5 hours, because if he doesn't, then he gets out of his sleep cycle. So he can sleep for 2.5 and function better than if he sleeps for 3.5. I don't get that, but he's a huge believer in it. And I've never tried it because I don't want to sleep 2.5 hours. But yes, so rest, reflect, examine, strategize, take time out for yourself, and sleep. And that brings me to the last thing, and then I'll open it up in the last few minutes for questions and let you know where we're going from here. It's, again, the 6 Ds. The 6 Ds that I've talked about in the past is you're going to dream it. We've talked about that. You're going to design it. Start thinking, okay, how do I get there? Then you're going to develop a plan. That's the 3rd D. And then the key for having the answers to what is your why is you got to have the desire to do it, and you got to have the discipline to do it. And they are 2 separate things. They are 2 different words. You can have the desire to do whatever, but if you don't have the discipline to do what you need to do each and every day to get there, it doesn't matter. And finally, if you do the first 5, then you have ability to look at the end of 2021 and realize that you reached your destination, that you got to where you wanted to be, and hopefully maybe you even did better than that. So that just sort of sets the picture for you as to what you should be thinking about. Next Tuesday, I'll just give you something that Logan, let me stop sharing this for a minute. I am going to get to you guys, but hang on. I'm gonna send this out to you. Oh wait, you don't see that. Hang on, I'll share the screen. I'm getting better about this stuff, but not as freaked out when I'm trying to do it. This is something that Jonas sent out yesterday about 3 key focus areas. And as you start thinking about what we talked about today and start thinking about building your business plan for 2021, establishing an online presence, lead generation for New Business Daily. We talked about that today. And then again, a system, organizing your sphere of influence into a database, and then systematically growing and adding contacts to it. And then below this, and I'll forward this out to you if you didn't get it yesterday, but these are 5 objectives for each focus area. And we're not going to go through them right now, but you can read through them on your own. A single page business plan. We're gonna give you a page that we use so that I can have an idea of where you think you're going. But this is just an example of, okay, what's my annual gross commission income goal? Okay, these are my 3 focus areas. They may not be the 3 that you saw on top, but you may have 3 focus areas of where you're going to grow your business. Okay, what are my 5 objectives for those focus areas? Growth won't happen by itself. We talked about that. So you can read through this. It's it's a 4-page document, and I will forward it out to you when go into the Agent Only Facebook page with this recording. I'll get Vincent to add this to it. But please, take a look at it. It's good stuff, and we'll add on to it when we're back together next Tuesday. We got a few minutes. Questions or things that jumped out at you that you want to mention or you want further clarification on?
I think, Michael, you touched on a very good kind of key point that reminded me to kind of refocus on this again, and that's talking about where's business happening and where's business not happening.
Yeah, Diona, and you guys did. Let me use you guys as a great example for a minute. You think about a year ago where you decided to refocus on Lake Monticello, and look at what business has come your guys' way this past year, and you did it right at the right time. You looked at the numbers obviously and said, hey, Lake Monticello is on its way back. And I feel like, you guys are, I know you want to get more, but you guys have gotten a significant amount of business from that with that focus this year.
Yeah, and perfectly honest with you, most of this business came from referrals. We did not heavily push the geographical farming yet, because we knew that with such a large amount, how do you kind of isolate a certain area? But there's more work to be done, definitely more work to be done. So, but I appreciate
What's that?
I appreciate you pointing this out as a key point. I think that's important, especially if you're trying to find where your market niche is.
How many houses are in Lake Monticello?
4,380 approximately.
Yeah, and so this is a great example of one bite at a time, right? At some point you guys could have significant market share in all of that whole area, but going back to what we'll talk about more, the sphere of influence is it's got to be a size that's attainable to you, that you're going to do it well. To do a lot and not do it well, it's better to do a little bit and do it really well. So as an example, and you may choose to do more than that, but let's just say you choose, you're going to do 10% of it. So let's say you're going to do 400 of those. In my mind, what that means is you got to divide 400 by 80, and that gets you to 5. And that means there've got to be 5 contacts every day of those 400. I mean, the mailing goes out, letting them know that you're specializing in this 400 part of Lake Monticello. And then 5 times a day, there's some place in your calendar that you're reaching out. And the reason it's 80 is because I'm figuring 90 days in a quarter, you're taking 10 days where you don't do it. So, almost all the weekends, you're not doing it. But each day that you're working, then there's 5. So the point being is, well, that's too many. All right. So whittle it down to 300. If it's 300 divided by 80, now we're down under 4. If it's 200, it's under 3. So whatever is realistic, and do that really well. And then as you do that well and you begin to see the results of it, you can then maybe expand another 200 or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of how I think we need to look at that kind of thing.
Great approach. Thank you.
Yeah. Other thoughts?
I'm going to tell my wife that you said that I have to take at least a day and a half off of hunting and fishing time for my personal self, or, you know, that's going to be crucial. I said, Michael told me I have to do it. So I'm going to throw you under the bus on that one.
That's what you would call fake news right there. I said personal and family.
Oh, okay. I missed the family. I just heard.
Personal and family.
I
So
heard fishing.
maybe that half day turns into longer because you go out at 3 in the morning and you hunt until 10 in the morning, but you're still home by lunchtime to help feed the kids and get them down for their naps, you know, kind of thing. So, yeah.
I'll tell her that you said that, though. I'll be sure and tell her, though.
Yeah, great. I'm sure I'll be hearing from Lizzie, that's for sure. Other thoughts?
Just that how can I help too? I've used that so many times in the last month. I said it yesterday to a client, you know, that we're working on his financing, and just say, you know, just call me, let me know whatever I can do. And it just, you know, and like we've talked about before, it can defuse the situation very easily too. If you know it's kind of going to be a hostile kind of environment, you can say, look, I'm here to help you. You let me know. And I've used that just so many times. It's really helped out. So I think I might put that in an ad or something. Just say, how can I help you with your real estate needs? Just very simple. That's it. So.
Great. Yeah. Because we want to be as Keith, you know, say we want to be the trusted advisors. We want to be the people that folks come to about anything as it relates to real estate. You know, whether it's, do you have a recommendation for a lender, or do you have a recommendation for, you know, because I'm refinancing, or do you have a recommendation for some sort of contractor or whatever? And that's why we're trying to build that preferred vendor list on our website. You know, if you go to roywheeler.com, we got a pretty good preferred vendor list in there. If you've got people that that you like and that, you know, that would do business the way we want it done, please let Vincent know, and we'll add them into that, because then you can point those people to that list. And any way we can put ourselves in a position where people are calling us to get information, the better chance we have of them calling us when they know somebody who's thinking about buying or selling. All right. Well, hopefully it's been helpful. It gives you kind of a, you know, a big picture type of thing. We'll get kind of more into the weeds next Tuesday. You know, look through this. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and have a great rest of the day.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.